What's up, guys? We are the Young Guns podcast. Welcome to our studio, and we are live talking about Brady Tkachuk being the new captain of the Ottawa Senators and his impact moving forward for in the upcoming seasons. But not only that, the prospects in the system that have already started to make an impact, not only last season but this season as well. And we're going to be talking about their competitive level, where we see them in the upcoming years. Will they be establish themselves as a playoff team eventually? And can they potentially win the Stanley Cup in the next 5 to 10 years with the prospects they have, and with, of course, Brady Tkachuk leading the way? So, what are your thoughts on Brady Tkachuk being named the Ottawa Senators captain?
It's a
Well,
no-brainer.
yeah, like you said, it's a no-brainer, and I think again, at the beginning when they first drafted him, they thought Brady Kachuk's going to be the guy in Ottawa, right? Like they drafted him, he's captain material, he's the face of the franchise, whatever. And there was talks at the beginning with him and Thomas Chabot, and how maybe it's Thomas Chabot because he's been there longer and whatever. But we all kind of knew this was coming. I think it was just more of a matter of time rather than if it was actually going to happen. But yeah, no, I think the right move for Ottawa was to bring Brady Tkachuk in as captain. I think he amplifies everything that Ottawa's looking for in a leader. I think he's a leader on the ice. I think he's a guy who's going to get in the opponent's face and kind of piss them off and whatever, but also a guy who can put the puck in the net and generate offense for his team as well. And he's a guy who is a fan favorite in Ottawa too, so that helps.
He exemplifies their culture as well, because they're a team that no matter who they face, and they're not a well-established team, they're still on the rise, with the prospects, and there's not a lot of vets on the team either. So to be able to compete every single night against teams like Boston, Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, they lose. Yeah, of course they lose, but they never back down, and that's what Brady Tkachuk exemplifies. That's what he represents for the Ottawa Senators. And moving forward, not only is he the face of the Ottawa Senators, but every single player is going to want to play for Ottawa and for Brady Tkachuk. And yes, he's very vocal on and off the ice. He's a in-your-face type of player. He's a character type of player. He's a grinder with special abilities. Because yeah, he scores greasy goals. He's able to make very amazing passes and stuff. But he's not your typical playmaker or
He's a
your
hustler.
typical, yeah. He's not
He
your.
works hard.
He's a power forward, I
Yeah,
would
he works
say.
hard.
I
Yeah.
think that's the best comparison for Brady Tkachuk.
Little
He
old
play,
school, little new school.
yeah, he plays like his dad, Keith. Oh my God,
Wait,
Tkachuk.
you're going to a
And
new school? Oh, no way.
and he also plays like his brother Matthew. But I honestly think that he is better than his brother Matthew.
Check out. What a stupid comment.
What?
He's like, you going to a new school after I said he's a little old
Anyways,
school.
it doesn't
new
matter. The
school.
point is, bro.
Oh my God. See, sometimes on the podcast we have jokes that hit
don't
the
make
mark,
sense.
and sometimes they completely
Yes,
miss.
I'm not
And
funny.
this guy
I
is the
know.
least funniest out of us three. So you have to take that into
Yes,
consideration.
I'm not good at
Kid.
making jokes, bro. I get it, bro. It's all
We're
good.
gonna stick to roasting him
Nah.
instead.
It's all good, bro. Roast me all you want, bro. I don't give a shit.
Anyways,
if it gets
moving
us
back
views, bro,
to,
and it gets people laughing, bro. I don't give a shit.
Moving back to Brady
the
Tkachuk.
yeah, that was a
And I
stupid
think
comment. I
Pizzuto could
apologize.
agree with me. I think me and Pizzuto like or value the type of hockey player that Brady Tkachuk is, because he's a character type of guy. We like those hustlers, those guys that are not scared to get into the corners and dig for the puck and recuperate it and make that pass, or even take the puck themselves and get to the net and try to bury a goal. And for me, I value those players a lot, because not a lot of them like that nowadays.
Yeah, no, a lot of my favorite ones are actually kind of like his style. Like Smarty St. Louis was like that. Small guy who always getting dirty. Gallagher's like that. Brad Marchand's like that. I think he's the more intense version of all of them. But he's not afraid to. He's not afraid to fight. He's not a
small though.
no. I
He's a
get
big
it.
guy.
No, I know. But I mean, like, he's not allowed. He's not scared to fight. He's not scared to go in the corners. He's got the skills to put the puck in the net. Usually guys like if you think of it, like an old school guy that would play like that was a fighter. They weren't there to score. They were there.
He
to
doesn't
just-
care what your name is on your
Yeah,
jersey.
he'll come
go
after
he'll
you.
come after
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
exactly. And I think he's a great. You're good.
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, guys.
Poor
COVID,
guy.
bro, I'm
Bad joke. Dying on this live. Like, what's going on here?
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Anyways,
idea.
let's get to some facts here. So pull out that computer of yours and let's
I-
talk
I
about the
Pull out,
prospects.
the computer's been out since the beginning of the
Mr.
episode, bro.
I think the
Uh,
Mr. Pinto he's a good player.
Shane Pinto.
Shane
Pinto.
I think
Pinto.
he's
Pinto.
an established himself as a.
What kind of pronunciation was that?
I don't know, just Pinto. Oh, sounds like it's like a nice ring to it. Imagine like, and it's score and wait, how does the announcer say it on?
And he
ESPN?
scores.
And he scores, Mr. Pinto. I
That's a
think that would
lame
be
name.
really
Yeah,
cool.
Pinto's a good player. I mean, he's the guy who they drafted in the second round in 2019, 32nd overall, and no, he's come into the NHL and he's looked decently good since he's come in.
Is he capable of being a first line center for the Ottawa
I don't
Senators?
think so. I think second line. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to
Not
tell.
yet.
It's hard to tell. I think he's a guy who has that potential, but again, to me, he reminds me of a little bit like Nick Suzuki a little bit, and not in a way where it's like, oh, he's exactly like Nick Suzuki. But what I'm saying is he's got that offensive ability to change a game, and the way Nick Suzuki does, where he comes in, he changes the game, and he's the best player on the ice. The thing with Shane Pinto, I think, is that it's more of a question of, is he going to be able to replicate that consistently? And we saw it in the NCAA. He looked really good. He battled Cole Caulfield for the Hobie Baker Award, just missed out. But it was a question of with Shane Pinto that he's that guy that got drafted in the second round because his skating wasn't the greatest, and he wasn't defensively. He wasn't, he was good, but he wasn't great. And I think that there's room for improvement. I think with Ottawa, it's for Pinto, it's going to be a learning process, and he's done well, 7 points in 12 games last year. This year, 4 games played already, 1 assist. He's been injured. He got injured, so
Yeah.
that doesn't really help. But I think he's a guy that in a system like Ottawa, maybe playing with guys like Stützle, playing with guys like Tkachuk, Batherson,
They got
Connor
good
Brown.
developments.
He'll
Have
get
really,
he'll
really
get
good
the points that he
development.
needs to get, and I think that with Shane Pinto, I don't know if he'll ever be a first line centerman, but I think he'll be a good second
solid
line
second.
center.
Let's move on to the next prospect.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think are really good. Stützle's a guy who still hasn't reached his potential
Norris.
yet in the NHL.
Josh Norris.
There's a guy, Josh Norris, who they got in the not Eric Carlson trade. The Eric Carlson trade.
Yeah,
Sorry, my bad.
My God.
The Eric Carlson trade, and then obviously they got Drake Batherson too, who they drafted themselves, and whatever. He's
They have
been really
Eric
good.
Brancham. They got part of the Mark
Eric-
Stone deal with
Eric
Las
Brandstrom,
Vegas.
who's been a bit hit or miss for Ottawa, more on the miss side, and I think a lot of people are
Because they're not
saying-
utilizing him properly. They put him on the left side, on the right side, then they send him down. They're playing a lot of games with him. I think they just need to give him time and space to properly develop, and I expect them to call him up sometime this season. But talking about the development.
He's on the roster at the moment. Like he's not playing a lot, or he's getting scratched or whatever.
I mean, how is the guy supposed to develop before he's scratching him? You know what I mean? Make him play.
They've got other guys too. They've got Jacob Bernard Docker, who they drafted in the first round as well.
But they have Zub.
They have Artem Zub, who is more on the older side. He's 26, but he's still a guy who's done really well for Ottawa.
Let's not forget the goals.
Lassie Thompson, Jake Sanderson as well, Victor Mete.
Good
They've
puck
got
moving
they've got a lot of really good prospects, Ottawa, and I think that they've done a really good job at drafting. It's just a question of, are they going to be able to develop these guys into players that are going to be really, really good, number one, and number two, are they going to be able to have a situation where these guys are going to grow and become really good players? My only concern with Ottawa, there's one concern that I have with Ottawa, and that's the fact that
Their goalies.
their
Yeah.
goaltending to me is
Matt
a
Murray.
little bit weak.
Very
They've
questionable.
got Philip Gustafson, who looks good, but besides that, I think it's really just hit or miss with Ottawa. And Matt Murray doesn't look good. Well, I mean, one expensive goal, the other one.
Well, yeah,
He's
but
consistently
kinda
injured. He's inconsistent with his play.
pricey.
That contract is ludicrous for him for what he
Yeah.
does. He's not worth it. But they could afford it because look at their salary cap. They have so much space. So even if they choose to buy him
Yeah,
out,
it's gonna haunt them like down the line. If
Well-
they're saying they want to compete in 2-3 years from now, and he's signed for 2-3 years, so
how many years does he have left on his contract?
3
Matt
after
Murray
this
has
year.
three, Yeah.
He has 3.
At 6
Well,
point,
after this year he's got 2. This year it's he's got
6.2 million, right?
6.25.
I see him as a likely buyout candidate by next
I don't know
season.
about buyout.
I don't know
The
about
reason why I don't.
that
the reason
means he's gonna be what 3 million, 3 point.
Well, if
3 point.
we pull out the buyout calculator, not do some math, but
Well, no. How many years? Usually
it's usually double the year. So
Yeah.
if he buys them out, let's say they buy him out next year, they'd have to pay him for the next 4 years,
that's
Okay.
insane.
right?
So make him play, slap him as a
But the
backup,
other
I
thing is,
guess.
too, the reason why I don't think he's a buyout candidate is because he's still 27, Matt Murray, and
He's supposed to be in his prime
right,
right now.
yeah. But I think with the thing with Ottawa is it's not a question of he's 27 years old, but I think
Yeah, but also the team as a whole, they're not the best.
I think if they
Can't
were
blame it all on
if
him.
they were to
The ceiling
trade,
is very high for the Ottawa Senators, but will they reach that ceiling or surpass it? We don't know. Oh my God, what's going on this episode with
What's
this
he
guy?
doing today?
My God,
What's he doing?
sorry guys, I'm a
what
bit
a
antsy.
show!
I'm a bit antsy, but no. In all seriousness,
Get this
though,
guy a pillow.
Get him the chairs that Jack Eichel has in his house. The super comfortable.
Oh,
Yeah, check out
yeah.
our latest episode that came out where we were criticizing
His
his
decor.
No,
his
but
decor.
I think if they were to trade, if they were to trade Matt Murray though, they would have to retain some salary.
Of course, I don't
But,
think he's really worth
yeah.
much. But a candidate that could be a potential starting goalie for the Ottawa Senators is Jonas Korpisalo from the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Or Georgiev.
Or Georgiev from the Rangers, and it's not really a.
I
not
think
like a
Korpisalo, but then again, Korpisalo, it's either do they risk making a trade for him now, or like do they like
I mean,
we could
Korpisalo's
sign him in
stats-
free agency.
But the
next
other thing
year.
is, too, Korpisalo hasn't really looked that good this year. I mean, in 4 games this year, he's got a 905, but he's kind of been struggling.
As soon as Merzlikins signed that
So it's a
contract,
bit-
we already knew who was the
with
starter.
Korpisalo, I think it's maybe he needs a fresh start. I think in Ottawa
Change the
he
scenery,
might do well, but
He did well.
Yeah, but then
years
again, they
back.
said that
Yeah,
about
the
Matt.
playoffs.
They said that about
that
Matt
playing
Murray
round
too,
looked
and
good.
look what happened.
Remember, everyone was saying like they had two legitimate starting goalies, and that's
but
what happens.
Matt Murray was a bit different, right? Because he came into the NHL really, really young, and he won 2 Stanley Cups, and so there were so many expectations for him because it was like, oh my God, he won 2 Stanley Cups, and so he never lived up to the potential afterwards of, oh, this guy could be one of the best goalies we've seen in the league. And he was a good goalie. I still think he's got potential to be a good goalie.
I don't know if it's just me, but
But-
lately I'm gonna go a bit off topic. Sorry.
No,
Is
it's
there
all
any goalies like I know like when they first drafted Price started playing what 19,
No, he played at 21, 20, I believe. 20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
They waited 2
And then
years
there
before
was
they played him.
and then there Marc-Andre Fleury, he was 18 when he started playing,
I believe so.
He
Yeah.
was pretty young.
right? Bro Bradar was like
Yeah, they all started.
they're all
like,
young. Like I feel like
20,
now lately
21.
like they all start playing at 24, 23,
Well, it's because
25.
the thing is with
And
gold.
the
they get
league
like
did get harder.
and they drop them left and right and they pick up guys and it's like I feel like the goalie position is starting to get less and less like not
consistent,
like
legit.
like it's not really important.
I mean, it is
Like
important.
I feel like teams like they
a lot of guys
they
are
pick up a
struggling.
mediocre goalie and they stack up on defense and offense and they call it a day.
So I guess what you're saying is that there's poor development towards goaltending.
I think there is
I think
either
think
that or
teams are
there's
just,
maybe less and less talent.
I think teams are just trying to
but-
be patient with goaltending, and I think the reason why is because there's a lot of goalies that get rushed into the league. Like I'll give you an example, right? You look at a guy like Carter Hart. Now Carter Hart's a great goallie, but he came into the NHL at 21 years old.
They had no goalie. That's why
Yeah, but
they
that- but that's
haven't
what
had a
I'm
goalie
saying.
since Ron Hextall.
But this is what I'm saying. They went through 7 goalies before finally bringing in Carter Hart. Yes, was it ideal? No, but that's what ended up
They're
happening.
desperate.
Right? They ended up throwing Carter Hart, and he looked really good. They were like, okay. They throw him into the next season, he looks good. You're like, okay, great. And then last year, he kind of took that. He had a really bad year last year, and he struggled. And I'm not don't get me wrong. I think Carter Hart's still a great goalie, but even this year, like you're seeing, he's good, but he's not great. And I think with the goaltending position, it's a question of teams try to be super careful with goaltenders because goaltenders are really hit or miss. You can have a goalie that you develop him in the AHL.
No, yeah.
You get him like Igor Shesterkin came into the NHL at 24.
No, I get
and now
that,
he's
but
one of
like
them,
even now,
he's really good.
like I think Knight was like since when like
Well, Spencer Knight, I think, is the youngest
it's,
goalie.
it's
in the league
rare
at the
it's
moment.
rare that they get drafted even in the first round.
Look at Gustafsson,
know?
for example. Ottawa's one of
He's
Ottawa's
23,
goaltender. Okay,
23.
they
What-
threw him to the Wolves last year.
Well, what round was he drafted in though too?
Late round, like
You know what I'm
fifth,
saying? Like
sixth.
there's
Second
there,
round
like
by
there's
Pittsburgh.
second. Oh
Yeah,
my
by
god.
Pittsburgh.
that's
Pittsburgh let
that's
a good
pretty
goalie go.
that's pretty early though for
Okay.
a goalie. You know, I see goalies sometimes going they go in the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah.
Well,
Which I don't understand
I think
why.
I think
but-
like I'll give you like last draft there was two goalies that got drafted in the first round, which was a very rare thing. Usually goalies don't get drafted in the first round, but the two goalies that got drafted in the first round last year were Wallstead and Kosa. You look at goalies that have been drafted in the first round, right? Vasilevsky got drafted in the first round, one of the best goalies in the league. Carey Price got drafted in the first round, one of the best goalies in the league, right? I believe Malcolm Subban got drafted in the first round. He didn't pan out, right? But there are Jack Campbell, who was drafted.
Even
and
him, he
I
would
don't
be
think
perfect in Ottawa too.
I don't think people.
No.
I don't think people.
As a
realize,
backup,
I
you
think
don't
he's
think
done.
I don't think people realize, but Jack Campbell was a first round pick by Dallas, and there was a lot of potential of, oh shit, this guy,
Look,
he might never make it, right? Because he was so good, but then he struggled and
I'm
whatever.
not
And
worried
now look
about
at Jack
Ottawa's
Campbell.
development. You look at their track record.
So-
They developed Jason Spezza, Daniel Alfredson, Zdeno Chara. Who else am I missing?
Zdeno Chara, I mean, yeah,
They got him at a young age, if I'm not mistaken. Part
Yeah,
of that
with the Islanders.
Alexei Yashin deal, whatever that went on, disaster deal
Yeah.
for them. Anyways, you have Craig Anderson, you had Chris Phillips, you had Mark Stone, you have Eric Carlson,
Fisher.
you had Pajot, you had
Mike
Mike
Fisher.
Fisher. There's so many great,
I feel like
talented
we're
players
missing
that they
someone, too.
developed.
They had a sick defenseman
I mentioned Chris Phillips,
besides him.
Eric Carlson,
Besides him,
Mark Method. He was pretty good.
I forgot his name. Yeah, I have to get.
Anyways, there's a long
They had
list of
Sergei Gonchar for a little bit too.
yeah, but they didn't really. I'm saying like young guys
Wade
they either
Redden-
got
Wade
at a
Redden
very
was a
young
good
age
defenseman.
or people that they drafted and they
Yeah.
developed. Okay, people that they shaped into the Ottawa Senators culture that made their team successful for all those years.
Yeah, Bobby Ryan, but he wasn't.
Yeah,
drafted by
they
them.
traded
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was okay.
So, anyways, you look at their track record. I love their development. I love their scouting. I like their GM Pierre Durand. In my opinion, is a very
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, I'm just
It's the pronunciation, whatever. I'm not perfect with that. I make a lot of mistakes
all
with that
good, it's
crap.
all good.
Anyways, I really like him. I think he's very underappreciated in Ottawa, and I think he's done a lot of great stuff, and especially with this rebuild. I think he's done a fantastic job with the pieces that he got in return for trading guys like Eric Carlson, Mark Stone, Matt Duchene, and so on. And I think Ottawa's ceiling in the next 2 to 3 years is that they will definitely be a playoff team. Will they win the Stanley Cup or go deep into the playoffs? That's it really depends on the run that they go on. But they're missing veteran presence, in my opinion. They're missing a guy to help Brady Tkachuk lead this team because they're inexperienced. They're all a bunch of young guys that are all the same age, all friends, that that they lack that veteran leadership in the locker room and on the
Free
ice as
agency,
well.
They'll probably go pick
And
someone
that's
up.
what they have to start doing. And I think Melnick, the owner, needs to start waking up and realize what he has on his hands is a very successful team that's on the rise. And
Yeah.
in order to establish this team to be a very good team in the playoffs and potentially a Stanley Cup contending team, is that they need to get veteran presence
one-
to surround those young players moving forward.
One thing that I found very interesting, right? And I realize this now actually is that you look at a guy like Thomas Hurdle, right, from San Jose. I think a guy like Thomas Hurdle would be the perfect player for Ottawa. And
They have the
reason why-
pieces to
but
trade
it's
for
not even
Thomas
just
Hurdle
pieces,
and the
right?
money to
Thomas
sign him to a
Hurdle-
contract.
Thomas Hurdle, apparently there's a rumor that he may not even want to come back to San Jose. If I'm Ottawa next year,
It's all about money.
right, looking at the team and looking at how the prospects go, if you bring in a guy like Thomas Hurdle, now you're really okay. Now you mean business, right? Ottawa's in a position where they're, I think, one defenseman away and one maybe decent top six forward away, and obviously a goalie tandem that's actually doable to the point where I think they can make playoffs. And-
I'll name you 3 players that are immediately gonna make Ottawa a better team. You want a veteran winger, you go get Phil Kessel, who wants to leave the Arizona Coyotes, and they could afford his contract because they have a lot of salary cap
I
space.
think
Okay,
he'll definitely help them goal scoring wise.
yeah. Then goalie wise, Jonas Korpisalo has the
Georgiev.
age, okay,
Or Georgiev, yeah.
or Gorgiev. They have the age where they're relatively young. They're both affordable, and you could sign them to long-term deals and establish them as either number one goalie or you do a 1-2 punch with Gus Fitzson or Matt Murray.
Georgiev's kind of struggled in New York, but I think in a change of scenery and especially in a situation like with Ottawa, if he does a 1-2 punch with Gustafsson, I think it could work.
Then you add a guy like Thomas Hurdle, where you have Shane Pinto playing behind him as a second line center.
The good thing about Hurdle is you can play on the wing too, so you can be flexible with that. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can move guys around.
Those 4 players automatically make Ottawa a better team. And those are not only do they add veteran presence, but consistency as well, because they're they're capable of holding their own, and they're successful on shittier teams as well, in my opinion. So you bring into a team that's on the rise, and you surround them with all the talent they have moving forward and already on the team, but also in the system, and I think they're gonna kick ass. I really like what Ottawa is doing, to be honest. The only thing that's questionable is the owner. But if he's willing to start realizing, I need to spend a little bit more money and I want this team to be more successful, yeah, the fan base is there, the development is there, the coaching staff is there. It's just up to the owner to, start grabbing his balls a little bit and start realizing, you know what?
Well,
We have something amazing here. And if I capitalize on this properly, especially with everything that we've been working towards, this team could potentially win a Stanley Cup within the next 5 to 10 years.
what I like about Ottawa, right, and it reminds me a little bit of the semifinal team that lost by 1 goal to the Penguins back in, I think it was 2016, I believe, or 2015, one of the two. The year that Chris Kunitz scored the overtime winner to send Pittsburgh to Stanley Cup final against Ottawa.
Yeah.
That team had Mark Stone. That team had
Craig
uh,
Anderson,
Craig Anderson. That team had
Erik
Erik
Karlsson,
Karlsson, Mike
Pajot.
Hoffman, Pajot, whatever. They had all these guys. And I think this Ottawa team can be that Ottawa team. What I mean by
100%.
that is, right, Kachuk's got. I think all right. If all these guys pan out, they can be even better than that team, right? And
Definitely.
Shabbat's basically what Carlson was in Ottawa, maybe a little bit less, but Shabbat's there.
Drake Batherson's like a Mark Stone.
Batherson's like a. Well, I think actually it's the other way around. I think Kachuk's more of a Mark Stone
Yeah?
type, whereas Batherson's more of a Hoffman because he scores more goals.
Okay, I
Right,
could see
and
that
then
happening.
you've got Stutzler there who can play at center or on the wing. So Stutzler's kind of like your developing guy, and then you've got Pinto and Norris who are your 1-2 punch at center. Ottawa's got guys
They
that
got good pieces.
Ottawa's
man.
got guys where
Mete.
if they pan out the way they're
Mete needs
supposed
to
to,
practice his shot.
they can be really good, a really good hockey team, right? On defense, I mean, look, Zoob's looked really good. Obviously Shabbat looks good. I still believe in Victor Mete to some extent, and not in terms of, I think, offensively. I don't think he'll ever get the offensive production that people expect from him, but I think he's a stable defenseman. I think he's a guy who, if you give him top 4 minutes, he may
gets the
thrive.
job done.
Right? He wasn't
I'm-
given an opportunity in Montreal,
listen.
but that doesn't mean in Ottawa he's been given a little bit of an opportunity. I think he's done a decent job.
Listen, I'm
So far.
convinced he's playing the wrong position. I think he's a winger. He's fast. He's great at moving the puck. He's great at passer.
But he's not
His
a bad
shot-
defenseman. I think
His
he's just
shot
too
is
small.
not there, but you could be you could
Yeah, I think he's better utilized
you
as
know
a
he
winger.
could be a great
They need to try that
two-way
out.
winger. I think he could be a great two-way winger. His scoring is not there. I'll give him that. The shots is not the best, but his passing is there. His skating is there. His speed is there. His hits are there. His defense is there
So
for sure.
we spoke
So,
about who they could get potentially
know?
as a center, as veteran presence, and also that's established. Who they get as an established vet winger and established vet goalie. But on defense, someone that I think fits the profile and that could, obviously help put Ottawa more on the map, and he's a free agent in this upcoming off season. Sorry, is Pique Subban. He's from Ontario.
But I think
Yeah.
what makes
I think he's a bad influence.
yeah, but one thing that we noticed, right? And I said this when the Seattle expansion came around too. PK Subban is one of those players where if you get him on your team, you're guaranteed marketing. And I think
that's what Ottawa needs.
Ottawa, right, because of the fact that they have such low revenue and they don't really have a lot of fans and they don't fill up the arena, I think if you bring in a guy like PK Subban, yes, don't get me wrong, his hockey play over recent years has declined. Yes,
Yeah,
he's on the
of course.
decline, of course. And I'm not saying PK Subban's going to come to Ottawa and win a Norris Trophy. Nobody's saying that. But marketing wise, and because of the fact that he's Canadian, and because of the fact that he's in Ontario, and because of the fact that he's played for Belleville in junior, and he knows Ottawa and the Ontario region very well because he's from there. I think getting PK Subban to come back to Ottawa, or better yet, going back to Canada where he's from, and in a market like Ottawa, I think it could benefit them marketing wise, because I think you look at it and you go, okay, you've got a guy who could be the guy who
I don't
generates
know. I
fans to come.
disagree.
and I think he's not a bad hockey player.
Look,
either.
I feel like he thrives on a big market. The real only reason why he did so well in Montreal was because all the lights, the spotlight was on him. He was the guy. And then ever since he left, he went to Nashville. He was pretty good there. And then ever since they got rid of him, he's been gone.
Well, I mean, he
missing.
hasn't been bad in New Jersey. I don't, like again.
Yeah, but he hasn't been Subban. So
No,
like
but
the one
okay,
that
but
that
the
was
other
in
thing is
Montreal.
too, right? You
Or
kind of
Nashville.
need to put into a little bit of context here. Pique Subban, left Montreal when he got traded in his prime, went to Nashville.
No, I get it, but a guy like that needs to play in a big market.
But the purpose of
He's like Max Domi.
but the reason
Max
why
Domi
they would
needs
get
to
a guy
play in
like
a big
Pique
I don't think it's
Subban
necessarily about a big
is
market
more for
thing, because look, in
marketing
New Jersey, they
as well
they
as
like
his
him.
play, but it's not his
Yeah,
play.
but
like
It's
listen,
like
wherever
if
he
you're gonna
goes.
get Phil Kessel, that's good for marketing too, and he's gonna actually help your team.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a guy
Pique's
who's gonna.
still a capable defenseman. He's just not the defenseman he used to be. But if you add the marketing aspect to it, helps the Ottawa Senators. And all these guys that we named, those guys are all realistic options for the Ottawa Senators because they have the salary cap space to make it work, and they have the pieces
I'll
to
be
make it
honest.
work.
If you throw a Pique Subban on your second pair, you doesn't have to be on your top pair. Throw him in your second pair with a defensive defenseman like Nikita Zaitsev, let's say, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You get a defensive defenseman next to Pique Subban. Well, now you've got Zub and Shabbat as your number one. You've got whoever you want and Subban as your number two. And what does that with Subban is, yes, defensively he's not the greatest, but he's a guy who throws big hits. He's a guy who he's still got a really good slap shot. And he's a guy that you can put on the second unit on the power play and he can quarterback a power play because he's done it before.
He's a good puck moving
Pique
defenseman.
Subban, if you give him less defensive responsibilities and you give him more of an offensive presence on an Ottawa team next to a defensive defenseman, I think he's not going to turn into Pique Subban that's going to win Norris, but he'll definitely help the Senators, and you'll get him for a lot cheaper than $9 million the way he's getting paid now, because he's not worth $9 million anymore, right? So with Subban, I think if Ottawa was willing to go that route, I think on a 2-3 year deal for Pique Subban, I think it could benefit Ottawa a little bit to have a guy like that, also a big personality like that, and I think he would get along with the younger guys, especially with Stützle and with Norris and with Tkachuk, especially because I think because of the fact that he's got this outgoing personality about him, I think he could get along
good
with the
fit
team
for them.
really well. That's why I think Subban's a good fit.
You look at all the possibilities for Ottawa, and I mean the realistic possibilities, and it's very exciting to see. Like moving forward, they could do a lot, but are they willing to do it? That's the question.
That's where the owner.
Don't forget, they also have to re-sign all these guys.
Well,
contracts.
Eventually, but we're talking about like the next
a lot of them.
Let me tell you
2-3
something.
years.
Chris Tierney, right, 27 years old. He makes $3.5 million. I think he gets less. Zach Sanford, I don't know if he comes back at the end of the year.
He's gone.
He makes $2 million. Whether he goes.
It was just to get rid of Colin White.
He'll get not Colin White. Logan Brown.
Logan Brown, my bad.
Right? So
oh my God.
Zach Sanford, $2 million. He'll probably get less. Nick Paul might get a raise, but not much. Right? Josh Norris, fine. You have to sign him. He's probably what? Well, Batherson's at $5 million, so I think he's around Batherson's contract. So I'd say $5 million, around $5-6 million.
And how much salary cap do you have right now?
They have currently at the moment they've got $9 million in cap space, but that's not including the fact that like they also have Bobby Ryan buyout for $3 million, which next year goes down to $1 million. So they're going to make $2 million. But they have contracts. The thing that's interesting, right, is they don't really have apart from Josh Norris, they don't really have anybody big that they have to sign right away. Like Victor Mete signed, he's not going to get that big of a.
He's going to get less than $1 million.
It's a question with Ottawa of the situation that I think they just need to find. They have cap space. They just need to find a couple of more players that can come in and really change that role, because they have a lot of guys that make $900,000 or less that are good players. Obviously,
they need established veteran presence. That's basically what they need on the goalie.
They need guys who have won before.
Yeah, on the goalie position, the center position, and the defensive position.
Yeah.
Because the wingers, I think they're fine, but adding Phil Kessel's like the cherry on the top. Whatever. Okay, so last question before we end this episode. What is what is your opinion on the Ottawa Senators moving forward? What's their ceiling? Where do you think they could possibly go within the next 2 to 5 years?
I think they're going to be a playoff. They're going to make the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
But they probably will not win the cup. Like they'll
Well,
consistently make the
Unless they add
playoffs.
those pieces that we
Well,
mentioned.
even if they add those pieces, it depends. The playoffs,
Stanley
anything,
Cup
anything can happen.
winning the
Listen,
Stanley Cup is
you
so
could
hard.
go from losing 20 games in a row and then going on an insane run and finishing barely making into the playoffs and winning the cup. So it depends.
Winning the Stanley
Playoffs a
Cup is
different
really
beast.
hard. But the thing is this, I think with Ottawa, like he said, right, it's more of a playoff situation. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be consistently a playoff team in the next 2 to 3 years. But one of the things that with Ottawa, right, is yes, they need those pieces, but at the same time, they also have to take this one step at a time. You haven't made the playoffs yet, right? I get they've got Stanley Cup ambitions, and I know that the owner came out and said that he wants them to be a cup contending team in the next 5 to 10, whatever. But to be a cup contending team, you have to go through a process, and I think Ottawa's slowly starting to do that process. Now, this year they've kind of taken a little bit of a step back because they haven't really had the greatest start to the year, but it's a question with Ottawa where, like you said, veteran presence has to come in. But I also think that they need to find ways to win games with the goaltending that they have. And I like DJ Smith as a coach. I think he's a really
Yeah, he's a good
coach.
coach. Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't know if he's the coach that leads them to playoff success. I think he's the coach that can help them win, develop them properly, and get the best out of them. But then come playoff time, you may have to look at something and go, okay, is DJ Smith the guy long term, or are we gonna have to look at
Well,
another coach who's made the playoffs before?
Give him two more to
course.
3 more years, the same amount of time you would give these prospects moving forward, and see how the team is
He's
by
not.
then.
He's not in the hot seat, but all I'm saying is like
He's far from it.
But all I'm saying is like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, once Ottawa makes the playoffs, how good is DJ Smith going to be? How
Exactly.
important is he going to be to the Ottawa team?
But once
But they're a
again,
playoff team in the next 2 to 3 years.
Brady Tkachuk being named the Ottawa Senators captain exemplifies what their culture is moving forward. That
They're gonna be as hard-
competitiveness, the
they're gonna be-
hustling,
They're going to be hard to play against.
yeah, they already are. I mean, look
Yeah,
at what they
they
did during
already
the last season in the Canadian division, and look what they're doing right now. They're able to compete, but they're not able to win games. That's the problem.
They kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
So-
anyways, guys, I just want to have ask you guys the question: do you guys think Brady Tkachuk is the right choice as the Ottawa Senators captain, or maybe Thomas Chabot was a better pick? Where do you guys see the Ottawa Senators like being positioned in within the next 2 to 5 years? And what pieces are they missing that we maybe didn't mention that would be a great fit for the Ottawa Senators? So we want to hear all your thoughts, and especially from Ottawa Senators fans, we want to hear your frustrations and as a fan, what do you guys want and what are you guys excited for moving forward with this team in place right now and with the development and the prospects within the system, the coaching staff, the owner, everything. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our past content. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. Until the next one.